welcome back. So today I want to talk about the Baratie arc. Now this arc is a lot of fun. This is where we meet Sanji and we enjoy some really awesome fight scenes. But as always, I want to dive a little bit deeper with a literary analysis of this arc. And of course, I want to start with the name Baratie. Now I've seen in many comments people mentioning that Baratie refers to Baratie, which is the restaurant that Oda worked at before pursuing his dream of becoming a mangaka. Now we also know that Sanji has a dream of going after the All Blue. So his time at Baratie fits with Oda's own time working at Baratie before leaving to pursue his dream. Now, this interpretation does, of course, fit Sanji. So Baratie is framed as a luxury restaurant. It's not a tavern or a mess hall, and Sanji takes that really seriously. So he is very openly romantic. He insists on etiquette, on presentation, on the atmosphere, even when the clientele is mostly pirates. And he treats cooking as an art rather than a service. But I think that the analysis of Baratie connecting to Baratie is insufficient. I think it's true, but I don't think that it is the only reason that this arc is named Baratie. So I want to tie back to a book that I have brought up before in Romance Dawn specifically, which is Don Quixote de la Mancha. So this is a Spanish version, but you can find the English version pretty much anywhere. This is a very famous novel, and in Don Quixote there is a character named Sancho Panza. Now I have talked about Sancho being similar to Kobe in a previous deep dive, so go check that out if you are interested, but I also think that Sancho reflects Sanji quite a bit. Now Sancho and Sanji, aside from having very similar sounding names, they also function as kind of parallel character types. So for starters, they are both in love with food. Second, they are both in a current role that is not from their own will, but rather living inside of someone else's dream. So Sancho is accompanying Don Quixote and stays with him throughout his journey out of loyalty, while Sanji is at Baratie because of Zeph. Now, Baratie was built by Zeph, and it specifically provides a space of safety, structure, and moral grounding for Sanji. Now, Sanji's values, especially his refusal to let anyone starve, are really reinforced by his upbringing as Zeph's adopted son and within the Baratie restaurant. But I think that the key parallel between Sancho Panza and Sanji isn't their personalities, but rather the concept of Baratie itself. And this is why I want to focus on the name Baratie. Now, in Don Quixote, Sancho Panza is given control over an island. So he is dressed up as a governor, he is given responsibility, and he is surrounded by these extravagant displays of wealth and food. However, the entire situation was constructed as a prank. And food is even used as a tool for humiliation because Sancho is not allowed to eat any of it, so his hunger kind of becomes part of the joke. The purpose was not to reward him, but rather to expose the absurdity of his ambition in wanting to become the governor of his own island. And through that experience, Sancho realizes that he doesn't actually like the life of wealth and responsibility, but rather prefers to live in a simple peasant life alongside Don Quixote. Sancho's time as governor, it ultimately reinforces a return to realism for him, in which abandoning this fantasy is a sign of his maturity. But I think Oda treats Baratie a little bit differently. So Baratie really exists to make Sanji's choice difficult, but not necessarily to ridicule him for dreaming. Baratie is not a joke or a punishment. It gives Sanji respect, it gives him a socially valuable role, it gives him a skill, and most importantly, it gives him a home. And I think the restaurant quietly suggests that this is enough, that the All Blue can still remain a hypothetical dream, but Sanji already has something tangible and real and fulfilling. In this way, I think Baratie fits neatly into the pattern of the early One Piece arcs as well. So in Romance Dawn, we see that pirates can be good and the Navy can be bad. In Orange Town, we see that clowns can be violent. In Syrup Village, we see people who lie on the outside but have good intentions, and good people on the outside who are lying but really are evil on the inside. A Baratie being a ship that doesn't sail, it is connected to the sea and doesn't move, but also provides a life that is meaningful but really static and holding Sanji back from that dream that actually matters, I think is another example of this kind of duality that Oda is reflecting over and over in his arcs. And I think this arc is really asking whether safety can be more limiting than hardship. And now, if you're still not convinced of this connection to Don Quixote, do you want to know the name of the fake island that is given to Sancho as a joke? It is called Barataria. And if you like this deep dive, please stay tuned for more. And as always, let me know what you think in the comments. I would love to continue this discussion, and I would love to hear your thoughts on my deep dive of the Baratie arc.